Hello, and welcome to another video. So in today's video, we're gonna talk a little bit about marriage. You guys know my wedding anniversary is rolling around again. I believe it's less than 5 days away. It's Friday. I like to do this every year. Last year, if you guys follow along with me, I actually did a series called Wifey Material Series. I'll link that if you want to, catch up. I talked a little bit about marriage. Here recently, I think it was last month. I share about marriage a lot because I do realize it's one of the areas in life that a lot of people desire to be married. A lot of people don't know how to get to what it is that they desire. And a lot of people don't understand really God's intention for marriage, okay? So if you are interested in all of those things, like I said, check out some of those videos. But today we're going to talk a little bit about standards versus preferences. Now, I know there's this new thing going around when people say, oh, that's a red flag, baby. I absolutely hate when people say something is a red flag. You know why? Because depending on the season of life that you're in, baby, you could be a red flag. Depending on the season of life that you're in, depending on what life has dealt you, what life has thrown at you, you could be the one who's a red flag. Do you want someone to write you out, write you off? Would you have wanted someone to write you off because you were going through a difficult time? Okay? Am I saying that everybody's problems is yours to take up, to take on, girl, to carry? No, absolutely not. But when God assigns you to someone, when God places someone in your path, I hate to see people like really skipping out on good men and men skipping out on good women. I hate to see it, but I know it happens so much, okay? So with all that out of the way, let's talk about some of these things. Like I said, we're talking about standards versus preferences. I have some notes here. We're going to have ourselves a real chatty conversation. I'm going to let you in a little of my business, only the things that I think will help you. We're not going to talk about, so like I said, standards versus preferences. Preferences are more like, girl, I want him to be tall. Oh, he needs to be doing this. Oh, I don't want him to have no kids. Those are preferences, and to be honest with you, I did not go into marriage with any preferences. When I was single in my single season, I was so focused on having a man that meets some of these standards that I'm going to talk to you about, that the preferences I realized were so secondary that they were non-existent. Okay, sure, there are things that I like, but now growing, even in marriage, my husband has grown, I've grown. I'm so glad I didn't try to build a life on what I prefer, okay? All right, okay? Because money, financial status changes, appearance changes, all those little things, all that changes, baby. But standards, they do not. So how do you describe standards, Tanzania? I describe standards as, let's say you're going to get some kind of license, okay? Like massage license, or let's take, for instance, I have to get licensed by the state to run a daycare center, right? There are minimum standards that the state says I must meet for them to even consider giving me a license, okay? If I don't meet those standards, there's no talking about it. There's no oh, well, I'll get it to you later on. Oh, I'm working on it. It's you meet the standards or you don't. And I want you to begin to look at your relationships like that. I'm not talking about things that someone else has told you. I'm going to list these things for you just so you can kind of get a feel. But I want you to begin, you and God, to begin to work this out. What are some standards that I have? And I'll be honest with you in saying that these are standards that I created in my relationship with God. They're biblical. If I'm really, really honest with you, at the time, when I was in that single journey, I had begun to look at not only my life and my experiences, but the experiences and outcomes of some other people's relationships to develop this list, okay? So without further ado, let's get into the first one. Now, this might seem a bit one-sided. I guess you could apply it to either way, but I'm talking from a woman to a man. How do you treat your mother? I need to know how you treat your mother. The woman that brought you into this world, however complex your relationship is, I need to know how you treat her. Because as a woman, I know that I'm complex. I know that I'll have some complex issues that pop up in life. I know that sometimes my emotions are complex. Sometimes the way that I act is very complex. So when a man gives an excuse about, I don't talk to my mother, I don't do this, I talk to her like this because she acts like this. When he does that, for me, just for me, it was a click, stop me dead in my tracks. Everything on here would have stopped me dead in my tracks, okay? No minimum standard. Remember what I said about the state, minimum. You're not even getting past the door. Minimum standard. How do you treat your mother? It's important. Because if you can't treat the woman who brought you into this world the correct, like if you can't treat her with love and respect, and I'm not saying, be all up on her. You guys know my family situation and how complex it has been. But even in all that, I was never disrespectful to my mother. Never disrespectful to my mother. It's imperative. Baby, how you treat your mother, I need to know. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now, sex before marriage. I've said it time and time again. I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. I was not interested in rolling around in the bed. And if something, if the person tried to push it on me, if they, they were mentioning it, they were trying to push me into, I automatically knew that he wasn't it. It was very important to me. And I told you guys why in a previous video, but you also have to realize you're not always going to be at the same point in your life. Like I said, sickness comes up sometimes jobs and just work and life gets so busy that you're not able to be, doing all that stuff. Okay. I need to know how much discipline do you have? And then not even how much discipline that you have towards yourself, but how much are you willing to obey God? I get it. We don't understand all the why you should wait and all that. We don't understand all that kind of stuff. It's not for me to try to understand. It's what the word says. And I want to know at what cost. Because I found a lot of people, they'll do all of the things. They'll check off all of the things. In this one area, they refuse to let God even touch it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I understand that people have struggles. I'm not saying you can't get married to the person if you guys have slipped up, but it's this total disregard that's even something that you're not supposed to be doing that I just couldn't get with. It's the total disregard for it. I ain't letting go of this. I don't care what you say. We can do all the other stuff. We can go to premarital counseling and all that kind of stuff. You can do all that. But this I ain't letting go. You gonna give up the cheeks. I just wasn't into it. Just wasn't into it. It would stop me dead in my tracks. Let's move on to the next one. Now, I talked about this in a recent video, and it's worth reiterating. It's definitely a standard. How is your work ethic? And me saying how is your work ethic is not all about money. It's more than about money. It's about your ambition. It's about how much are you willing to work towards something. Because like I said, I'm very complex. Relationships are very complex. And when you start mixing children and families, it's very complex. I need to know by looking at how you treat your job, by looking at how you treat the other people in your life, how willing are you going to be to work towards something? It's imperative. How you treat me when you don't like me. If you think every single day I wake up in the morning, every single day my husband wakes up in the morning, that we are absolutely just madly in love, you're sadly mistaken. If you think for a second that you're going to marry someone and how you feel about them on the day of your wedding, some people don't even like people on the day of their wedding, but how you feel about them on that day is going to be how you feel about them every single day. You're sadly mistaken. Okay, there's some time that you're not going to like them, but is you not liking me going to cause this whole house to fall apart? Is you not liking me going to cause the whole marriage to fall apart? Is you not liking me going to halt everything that we've been working on? It's imperative that I know that. I told you guys I had the honor, and I call it the honor now. I didn't feel like it was the honor then, but I had the honor of working with my husband. We weren't boyfriend, girlfriend, we weren't nothing. He was simply, he was under the chef. And I got the honor to work with him. So I got a chance to see him from a very objective view. I understand everyone doesn't get that, I'll call it a luxury. But in some capacity, you must sit back and really watch the person, watch the character, watch how they move through life. I'm going to get into some of the other things. Watch how they treat people in their life. You must put yourself in a situation where you're not moving so fast that you don't get a chance to see all those things. It's imperative, okay? And like I said, I need to see how you treat me when you don't like me. My husband was very kind to me. I will go off to say that he was more kind to me than anybody else in the kitchen. For reasons to this day, I have no I can't tell you, it was a divine appointment. I can't tell you any other reason. All right, here's the next one. How do you behave when you don't get your way? Because if nothing else is certain, one thing is certain, that at some point in life, things are not going to go the way that you planned them to go. How do you behave in scenarios like that? It's imperative that you know. And like I say, you might not have the honor or the opportunity to see someone in that capacity, but wait around. Just wait around. Go to restaurants. Go out in public together. It's not about sex. It's not. Do things outside the house together. See how this person interacts with the outside world. It's imperative that you know. Because like I said, there's one thing that is certain, that at some point in this marriage, things are not going to go the way that we planned. I need to know how you're going to be acting. I do. I need to know how you're going to behave. Can this person be understanding? Do they have the capacity to understand other people, their emotions, just how they are, past their own personal desires? Can they be understanding? It's imperative that you know. I'll tell you this, at the time when I was working at this place, it wasn't a restaurant, it was like an energy company that we worked for, and we worked inside the kitchen at this energy company. And at the time, my sister was living with me, my nephew, and of course my son had just moved with me. Now we were not allowed to pack plates to go, but it was kind of like an unspoken thing, like don't be up in here packing plates. Like if I had another job to do, I couldn't stop my other job over here to pack plates so that I would have some food when I went home. But baby, I wasn't making a lot of money, so I actually needed some food from when I got home. My husband, he wasn't my husband at the time, like I said, he would pack the plates, sit the plates aside, and write my name on it. I never asked him, I never complained about my situation at home, but he knew from our earlier conversations that I was a single mother. And he saw to it that my son and myself had some food at the end of every night. And that was not his job. He was very understanding. And when I see my life now and I see all the different things that have happened to me, to him, just in our marriage, to our children, I understand the importance of having a man that's understanding past what he wants. You need to understand what I'm going through past how it affects you. It's imperative. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Can I be myself? You guys have seen it. Baby, I'll have colored braids in one day. One morning I wake up, I say I'm cutting all my hair off my head. Like, you name it, it's me. Can I be myself? It's so very important. The most heart-wrenching thing is to see a woman showing up as a person who not only they don't want to be, but the man don't want to be either. And you don't have the woman doesn't have the courage to say, this is not who I really am, in fear that he'll leave. And then the man doesn't have the courage to say, this is not really what I want, in fear that she'll be mad and stop doing the things that she does that he actually wants. I'm cutting out all of that. I'm about to show up as me. I'll tell you, my husband and I went, it was kind of like a date, but it was like a testing, okay? He decided to take me to a movie theater. First of all, I showed up late to the movie theater, but dared him to show up late. Being on time is one of my biggest pet peeves. I feel like, and this is just a little segue, I feel like the first date is really an interview. And he had been asking me on dates for a while just to take me places, and I kept saying no. I feel like if you're late to an interview, you're not getting a job. I don't care what your resume says. I don't care how you look coming in here. If you can't be on time to the job interview, you cannot have the job, because I'm going to have to worry about you being late every other time. And the only person I'll have to blame is myself, because you showed up late to my interview. Okay? So I say that to say, baby, if he would have showed up late to that date, we would not be married today. And he knows that now. We laugh about it now. It's funny. But he was there early. He ordered our drinks. He ordered our popcorn. He had our seats. He had the tickets. He had everything ready to go. And I'll tell you one thing. It was nothing, if nothing else about him, it was like Tanzania. He the one. Him being on time and being so organized and set up, And that is him to this day. To this day, I wake up in the morning, my phone's plugged up, just those little things that I really don't like to do. Okay, but just because I don't like to do them, that don't mean, that don't mean it's not good that somebody else does. Just little fine details. I'm a big picture type of person, right? It was so beautiful to me that he just had it all together. And I'm not talking about in no superficial, oh, he got all the money and not all that. He had it all. The things that I needed, the things that I know that not a lot of people pay attention to. And I know not a lot of people pay attention to him because I too used to be one of the people who didn't pay attention to him. I was so worried about, girl, what he do for a living and what he look like and all. I was so busy worried about all those things that I forgot to pay attention to the things that really matter the most. The things that 6 years down the road that I'm still benefiting from. And I don't mean benefiting from and like, oh girl, if it don't benefit me, I don't mean like that. I mean benefiting from by it makes my life easy. It makes my children's life easy. It makes it easy to show up and love him every day because of some of these things that I'm telling you. So as I digress, I definitely went off on a tangent. Can I be myself? When I showed up to that how about to say job interview, baby? When I showed up to that day in a hoodie and some relaxed pants. You know why? Because I had been working all day. So either you want me on this date or you don't. And then I went in there and fell asleep. It was one of those movie theaters. My first time being in a movie theater was like one of those little chairs that lay back. I don't watch movies. I don't watch TV now. He now knows that. But I showed up to the movie theater. I fell asleep. I was tired. I had been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. I was tired. Can I be myself? You like movies? To this day, my husband loves movies. He loves movies. He loves TV shows. I'll sit in the bed. I'll be doing my own thing. I'll be coloring and doing whatever. I'll sit right here. I don't like all that. You like that? That's fine. Can I be myself? Because I want you to be yourself. I want my husband to show up as himself. How can he do that if he's not allowing me to show up as me? And this is the last thing, girl, on my wedding day, so I had a very a boho wedding. I told you guys, I ain't have no shoes on. My wedding dress was very almost like a sundress that I found from Target. It was very cute. If I have a picture, I'll show you. But my hair, the girl who did my hair, it was cute for the wedding. It looked really nice. But those bobby pins, baby, were killing me. When I got to that hotel and I took my shower, I took them bobby pins right out my head and took that whole little plait down. I went on my honeymoon. The rest of our honeymoon spent with me with my hair in one of those sister girl, what you call a little braid? You put the braid around your hair like that? That's how I spent. Can I be myself? Yes, I want to get cute. Being cute is cute. But if I don't want to show up cute and I just want to show up as me, how is that going to go over with you? It's important that I know that. If I wake up in the morning and say, honey, I want to join the army because I've always wanted to join the army, how is that going to go over with you? Can I be myself? Or am I going to have a hole in my soul from a longing of wanting to be the person, of the real me, not being able to flourish and blossom? It's imperative. It's so important. Can I be me? And I will say that the best way to see if you can be you is just to be you everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you need to show up as you. And when the man that is your husband, finds you on that road to you being you becoming you, he'll know. He'll know, you'll know. But I'm not pretending to be nobody else because, baby, I'll tell you one thing. When I was pretending to be all these different people, I found people who matched all those things that I was pretending to be. We were all pretending together and it wasn't cute. Okay? Let's move on to the next one. How can you handle my accomplishments? This is a big one. Because sometimes it's hard for men people in general, to really uphold the person who seemingly to the eye does more. I will say that we tested this. This was tested long before. And of course, everything needs a little fine tuning because I also had to realize my role in my husband's life. But that's for another video for another day. At this job that I'm talking about, at first I started off working in the kitchen as well. Then I came back to the job and I was working as a barista, which I love the job as working as barista, but they didn't want me to stay as working as barista. He wanted me to like do some kitchen prep and then be the barista too. And it was, I don't know how this came about, but one day I said, you know what? I was doing all the planning for, I was doing the planning for this establishment. Like we would have themes every week and I would come up with like the theme and then they would build the food. Like let's say the theme was carnival. They would make carnival food to serve, okay? Go figure. Still the same kind of stuff that I do right now. But I remember I created this cart and it was like an ice cream truck and you would go through all the floors. I believe this building had like 15 floors. The building's huge. You guys have seen the building before. The building's huge and I would go through all the floors like walking and, you know, with this little cart that I made. A cart that I made was like a tree cart. I made that cart myself. And I mean, people came throughout the entire district to see this cart. They wanted to see this little ice cream cart that I made and it was like a showstopper. I didn't realize until recently that that was actually an introduction of, can you really hold the weight of who you are? You guys know, I mean, I can't, if I can't paint that, I can't give you any more on that. Like, look at the channel. Do you really think I could be with a man who could not hold everything that I am, my accomplishments? Because if a man can't hold your accomplishments, you will be stunned, like your growth will be stunned. You won't dream as big, you won't reach as high, because you'll always try to be, like, it's like you try to stay small, like, oh, I don't want to be too big, oh, I don't want him to feel so small. Like, can you handle it? Just can you handle it? If you can't handle it, I'm sorry. He was not at all intimidated by that card. And you know, like I said, there's a lot more to it. Of course, these are just some very basic, like just basic things that you can just assess your situation. And like I said, these might not be important to you. They're important to me. And I'm just sharing this list with you because I want you to begin to think about the relationship beyond a surface level. Okay. Oh, baby, I almost forgot. Because this is one of those, you might not like this response. This is one of those things that you need to be deep enough in your relationship with God to truly discern. This is a given. One of the most important standards is that they need to be a man of God. And I didn't feel the need necessarily to say this because, like I said, you would think it's a given. You have to begin to, especially us as believers, has to begin to look beyond the surface of these religious practices. Girl, do he attend church and does he, and all those other things. And I mentioned a bunch of things to you that really speak to the character of a man. Okay? You're watching, you're paying attention, and things, all of those things speak more about this man and his belief in God than his church attendance. So many people have been fooled by men that attend church every single Sunday. I mean, not even every single Sunday, but baby, they had Friday service, they had Thursday service, they had Wednesday service, they're there on Saturdays. Everything that the church does, any opportunity they get to volunteer, they're there. They're just super, super religious. It's my perspective on how to really, really see a man. You got to really see a man of God. And then not only just see a man of God, but you need to develop a relationship with God that goes beyond what meets the eye. That your discernment, your ability to discern goes beyond what meets the eye, so that you're not fooled by a religious man. So you're not fooled by a man who, you know, like I said, sits on he got the front row seat. He the deacon at the church and he fooled you. He's not a good husband. And if you're honest, you were so religious and you're really not a good wife. You're just religious. Beyond, of course, it's a given that he's a man of God. It's so much of a given, I forgot to mention it. There's no way in this world I would marry a man who wasn't a man of God, being a woman of God. There's no way in this world. So yes, I thought that was given, but as I was editing, I said, baby, I forgot one very important thing to let the people know of. And like I said, I'm not talking about being religious and religious practices. I'm not talking about that. Because if I'm really, really honest, I was far more, I had I was attending church. I had just got off the worship team. Like, I was doing all those things, and my husband didn't do all those things because he had a very different experience in the church growing up than I did. He got the whole like religious, they putting on a show type of thing. He had a lot more people in his life who attended church and treated him badly. So he had a very different view that I didn't have of the church, but I understand it. And because that happens, because so many people have church hurt and church pain and things of that nature surrounding the church, surrounding religion, you have to be able to discern, God, what is it? Like, God, show me for real. Is this your son? Like, do you put your stamp of approval on this man to be my husband? How closely is he rocking with you? And I'm gonna tell you one thing before I go. I remember one time someone had got into one of the ladies who worked with us, their friend or someone had got into a motorcycle accident. And I remember everyone surrounded in the kitchen. So we all working in the kitchen together. Maybe it's about, 15, 16 people. It was a lot of people. We all kind of came together. And the chef who was in charge of the kitchen, the executive chef, he said, well, somebody gonna pray? Like, they wanted to say a prayer, but they were so afraid to pray. I could tell that none of them prayed because everyone was afraid to pray. Okay, so he said, can somebody pray? And at the time, like I said, he wasn't my husband, but he stepped up to say the prayer for all of this group of people. So it showed me a picture. I was beginning to put a picture together of this man. Like I said, very objective, but it showed me, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying, right? Okay, all right, let me go. Let's move to the final one. Can you be trusted? What do your friends and what do your family have to say about you? What do the people who spend most time with you have to say about you? And you have to qualify this because you guys have to remember my relationship with my family. So because of my relationship with my family, it helped me to understand that family systems and really what people say about you isn't really always true to who you are, because people like to come up with their own things based off of how they feel about things that you do, right? I know this, but I had to pay attention. I had to begin to pay attention to what do they really think about him. He's always the person that you call when you need something. You know what that says? Even if someone doesn't say it out their mouth, you know what that tells me? That tells me that you can be trusted. They know they can count on you. They might not say it. They might not give you the praise and give you the validation. But because you always calling on me to get the job done, I know that you trust the work that I'm putting out. The same thing with family. They might not have the best relationship with their family, but if every time your mama needs some money, or every time your daddy needs some money, every time your sister needs a bill paid or something like that, they're calling you. Just because they're saying something else about you, I can see that you're a person who can be trusted with finances. You understand? So a lot of the time, especially this right here, can you be trusted? You have to look very objectively at the person and really look at how people treat them, not so much as what they say about them, because people make up all kinds of things. All right, so I hope this video was helpful. It wasn't too long, wasn't too bad, right? Like I said, this is just a conversation I want to bring to you because I want us really to begin to look at our relationships. I want us really to begin to place the real value back on marriage. Girl, in this crazy world where people doing all of this, that, and the third, marriage has a very clear intention from God, okay? And the moment that we're able to fix marriages, we're actually able to fix families. And when we fix families, children are included in that family system. So we also, in fixing our marriages, have a solution to what's going on with our children. And that, I just believe it's going to be a beautiful resolve, okay? As always, if you have a question, ask a question, and I'll see you in the next video.